It's been an exhausting week. It's been a week of mourning and grieving, I think, for a lot of us. And that's been hard, I think. Well, I know for myself that's been really hard. And I think for some of you as well. So I'm all puffy from crying. I cried for 3 days straight. I kept thinking I was finished crying, and then I would be doing something and a random thought would cross my mind and I would start crying again. So I'm glad that we're 5 days in, and now I think it's time to find peace. But I think as well, for me at least, I'm ready now to be able to talk about Antonio, to hear your memories of him. If you want to share any, I think that would be nice. I don't like that his death was met with such a heavy silence in the community. I think most humans are cogs in the wheel. They're just replaceable. They hold the same opinions as everybody else. They have the same ideas as everybody else. Maybe not everybody else in the mainstream, but maybe everybody else in their community or in their social circle. And so they don't really have very much that's unique or fascinating to offer the world. And that's okay. We all offer the world what gifts we do have. And for some people, maybe that's being nurturing or caring. Some people are amazing parents. Some people are amazing musicians. So we contribute whatever we come to the table with. But then I think that there are some individuals who are just brilliant and unique, and they're just these magical little unicorns. And I think when we lose one of those, the world as a whole is less interesting, less beautiful, and less fascinating. And I think those individuals, it's so hard to live amongst the humans as someone who's different to that extent. And it makes every interaction with the humans a challenge, because you don't think the way they do, and you don't converse the way they do, and you just don't have the same underlying understanding of the world, of social norms, of how to interact. And it makes every exchange slightly challenging. And I think that accumulates over time as you get older. So it doesn't matter, I think, how shiny, enthusiastic, and loving you are when you start out amongst the humans. I think it can wear on you, traveling through life, being so different. I think that wears on you. That wears on me. Maybe I should talk about me instead of projecting on other people. Okay, so let's talk about me. I find it difficult. I find it a challenge. I'm different. I can't be like the humans, and sometimes I'm too tired to try to assimilate, I guess. And as hard as I try, I'll never fit in. And so you get tired of trying. And I think for some of us, we just find different ways of coping. And some of us get maybe more antisocial, more easily frustrated, maybe shorter fuse. Some people just dissociate altogether. They just don't have anything to do with the world. They just hole up in their little life, maybe on the internet or in some weird hobby, and they live in their shed building gyroscopes, or like Cavendish, right? Or like Newton, you live in your laboratory, and he was an alchemist and he was trying to do science, but really it was all just to feed his alchemy. Or you go and you become a priest of some kind, or a zealot. Anything to have something to either reduce your interactions with the humans, or something that acts to mediate your interactions, so that rather than you having to assimilate to the norms of the humans that you don't grasp fully, the humans have to assimilate to the norms of the ritual under which you're interacting with them, right? Very predefined, set, codified rituals. of exchange, of interaction. And so, yeah, and so I got along quite well with Antonio sometimes. Sometimes, oh my goodness, we fought. But sometimes, we loved each other sometimes, and sometimes we did not. And that's okay in the long run. I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that, because he brought out, in those times where we got along exceptionally well. And he brought out a side of me that I quite like and that I miss. I miss him, yes. I also miss the me that he brought out. I liked that Sasha. She was more brilliant than I am. She was funnier than I am. And she was quicker to laugh than I am. Laughter came more easily to her. That's the version of me that he brought out, in a really special way. And I miss that. I miss being that person. And I'm not able to be that person without him being there to draw that out. I have one cousin, and I'm babbling on, and then I'll address your comments in chat. But so I tend to talk in a way, and this ties into the difficulty in fitting in with the humans. I talk in a way that is partly to entertain myself when I'm talking to other people, because for so long there was no one for me to really talk to, that was interesting or entertaining, or that they could make sense of what I was trying to say, or that I could really relate to what they were trying to say. So for a very long time when I talked, it was just for my own entertainment. And so, for example, I remember texting my cousin once. I was sick and she was concerned. She sent me a text saying, "How are you feeling?" And, instead of just saying like, "I'm super sick, I'm coughing up a lung, like I need orange juice," I sent her this text of like, I'm embodying Satine, the Moulin Rouge, coughing daintily to death and to tuberculosis. Like I painted this picture. And instead of, minus the dashing lover and minus the corset, the delicate features, the ornate decorated elephant, like minus all those things, I am Satine. And instead of replying like some of my friends would, like, "Oh, poor you, you're sick," and then the response that elicits from me is, "Oh, yes, I am sick, poor me." Instead, my cousin just sent back, like, crying with laughter at my little painted picture of my illness. And then her laughter, that made me laugh, and it made me happy because she had understood. She had been entertained by my little story. Instead of it being a boring text saying, "Yes, I'm super sick," I had just sent this like little ridiculous, absurd little little comparison. And she got it. And it made her laugh, and that made me laugh. And those are those interactions that I like. And I think with Antonio, that was really easy. He kind of understood, because I think he often did the same, that when I'm talking, I'm half talking for you and half talking for me. And so once you understand that about someone, then you get kind of the intent of the story, and you understand when they're entertaining you. And so you respond with that in mind, like, yes, that is entertaining, that is amusing. Instead of saying, "Oh my goodness, poor you, you're so sick," because then that's just a boring conversation, right? Anyway, that's my little story. And so I made a video, Good Night, Antonio. Feel free to watch that. That was, again, partly for you to see, I think, the sparkling side of Antonio when he was happy, when he was, in moments of joy, moments of laughter, moments of sharing that intimacy, when we were deeply engaged in these 7-hour live streams. And because of the hour difference, he would be collapsing, falling asleep at the end. But he was always polite when he was signing off. And so I wanted to share that with you, but as much as I wanted to do it for me to go through my live streams and just to collect these brief little moments that showed that intimacy between us and that positive relationship. and the kindness that was there, and the magic. I looked at that, and yeah, we had a nice little magical friendship, and that's so rare, and so special for people like me, and I think for people like him as well. And so when those people pass, I think for someone like me, that's a really heavy tragedy because it's irreplaceable. Yeah. So, and I'm saying all these things uncensored. I don't know if this is politically correct to say. I don't know if that's polite to say. I don't know if I'm offending people or hurting people's feelings. And right now in this moment, I just can't care. I'm just being honest. Yeah. And so, yeah, so I'm inviting people who want to come on and share some positive memories of him. Also, you should know right now, before I start looking at the chat, I am getting some, at some point in the next 40 minutes, my doorbell will ring, and I'm going to have to put someone else on or put something else on while I go take care of it. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat. There was someone spamming the chat earlier on, so I blocked them. So let me know if there are more problems from that person. Thank you for all your kind messages. Yes, as well. I received a lot of kind messages, and I really appreciated that. That was really nice. Antonio was 100% a unicorn. Slim Broco says, oh, and the message moved away. There it is. I'll never forget how he lifted my spirits after my surgery. He's the man. Oh, I'm P. Mary Level Earth. Hello. The big loss is the things he could have said and we will never hear. That's another thing. There are some things that Antonio and I talked about offline, about his models, about his ideas, about his next book. And I was thinking I might do some videos about, because at this point, I'm hoping that his family will publish his second book. My understanding is that he was done. And so I'm hoping that will come out. But yeah, I think I might do some videos in the next couple of months here and there when I'm in the mood for it, just talking about some of the fascinating details and in the predictions that he made that have come to pass, because I do think that there's a lot to his model that's quite accurate. And that he didn't get a chance to talk about, especially at the end. He was so consumed so I would like to kind of talk about those things, bring back some of the ideas that he had started touching upon in some of our live streams, and I think in some of his videos, and I'd like to bring those back and just deepen them and share some of the ideas that he had shared with me. I think that would be nice. Combe Gibney says our shows together were 200%. Thank you. They were fun. They lasted hours and they just felt like minutes. So I miss that a lot. I would rather have a stimulating, fascinating conversation with someone who thinks uniquely and who can think on maybe that same page as I'm on, right? And that is another thing I want to say, Antonio. We were so on the same page that we would come up with these like crazy, unique, bizarre, like just out of the blue, out of nowhere ideas. And then we would Skype to share, like, oh my God, I've come up with something. You'll never believe, it's so crazy. And it would be the same thing. He was very intuitive, and he picked up, I think, a lot of the ideas that were around him. And because we had that connection, I kind of picked up on his ideas as well. Adrian wants to know what happens. I don't know if you mentioned he changed my life completely. Well, I'm glad he changed your life completely for the better. Gregory Valentine Animation says, life is so brief, sadly. Yes, it is. You're sad he passed? Yeah. Only one life and soon it will pass. Only what's done for Jesus Christ will last. That's a nice little thing. My DeLorean says, I'm special. Yes, you are special. Everybody's special, which means that nobody's special, but like some people are special. And I think that there's often a jealousy when when the people who aren't special see someone who's truly special, I think they want to tear that person down. First, they want to get them into their party. Like, oh, you're going to be in my party. And then I will be special by association with you. And then if they can't keep that special person in their party, then they turn around and attack and tear down. And I think we saw that in the Flat Earth community. Does anyone want to come in and share some memories? I don't know. I thought that would be nice. I think we're now, it's enough days now that we should be able to be a little bit less emotional, so we could be a bit more composed. If you want to, let me know, and then I will put the link in chat. Greg says, oh, please show the masking tape sculpture. I showed it in a video last year. But yes, okay, I'll show it again. Gregory Valentine Animations made an amazing sculpture for me. But right now, I don't have it in the room that I'm in. I know this is, yes, well, my software updated for my webcam, and it's no longer free for the background filters or for the green screening, and I only discovered it today, and so we just have a green, which it's nice. I think it's better than a beige wall, right? So it's not the worst. Life Force says, can you discuss the Great Reset? I have a lot of thoughts on these topics, and I am a little bit torn. I post these things on Facebook, and they get the things that I think should be most important, maybe get less engagement, and then things that are just trivial get more engagement. And then sometimes and also I've lost friends over what's going on in the world right now, over differing opinions. I've had a lot of problems with that. And I think I've come to the conclusion that at some point I have to accept that a lot of people are not interested in truth. They're just not. That's another thing that that's not something I can understand. And I think Antonio is like that. Those are things that he and I, we don't understand that. We don't know how to make sense of that. How can someone not want to know the truth? How can someone want to believe something and they know it's not true? They know it, right? You provide them the evidence, maybe of, oh, this new concoction is perhaps not safe and effective. And you provide, or some of the measures that we're using to try to prevent terrible outcomes from the current illness, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say anything that's going to get my video deleted or my channel removed right now. And so you bring evidence, peer-reviewed evidence, published in science journals for, over the past decade. You bring this to bear, you bring this as evidence to the conversation, and people they just wave it away. They just wave it away. Oh, but Dr. Fauci said. And I just think, I don't know how to make sense of the number of people who are so fervently desperate to not believe the truth, to not know the truth, and so that's been really hard for me. I think in my entire life, that's caused problems in my friendships, in my relationships, in my jobs. It's taken me all this time until this week to really accept people don't want truth. The majority of the humans, they're not interested in truth. They're just not. And so I went through my Facebook posts and I just hid all the posts that I was like, this is what I thought was important. And, maybe 3 people liked it. And everyone else was like, oh, look away, because that's truth. that's inconvenient truth. And it's also making me wonder about, how I'm going to use my channel moving forward, and what I want to say here on my channel, because I have ideas about the Great Reset, and I have ideas about meltology. The mountains are melted buildings. That's a fascinating conspiracy theory. It's just such an amazing one. And um, and there's so many more. There's so much going on right now. There's so much truth that's spilling out from the conspiracy theory corners, which is exciting. There are also, and crypto. I want to talk about cryptocurrencies, and I want to talk about remote viewing. I've been getting a lot more involved in remote viewing over the past couple months. I'm getting more involved in that community. Magic. And I'm quite enjoying that. And there are things that I want to talk about here in relation to that. But I have to figure out my audience here on my Orphan Red channel. It's a Flat Earth audience. And it's an audience that enjoyed either Flat Earth or the Orphan Red persona. So I have to figure out, am I ready to change? Are you ready for me to change? We'll see what happens. And also, is that where I want to put my energy right now? That's a tough one because I have so little. Tell me in chat. Our first Treble says mountains are melted buildings. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I know, it's incredible. And I have some ideas about the red bricks that I really want to share, but I don't want to just spill it out now and then it's just this blurb in the middle of a live stream. I want to make a video about it. So I'm hoping to have time to do that. Does someone want to come in and share some memories? I thought, I don't know if that's something we want to do. I thought there should be more of that. I expected more of that in the community. So, and I didn't really see too much of it. So I thought, okay, well, if you want to come and talk about your happy memories with Antonio, or the impact he had on you, then maybe let me know. Shall I just put the link in chat, or shall I wait until someone offers? If you want to, you do have to put at Orphan Red so that I can see it a little bit more easily. Let me see what you guys are saying in chat, because it's 6:30, and so I'm expecting my doorbell to ring very soon. Oh, and I would also like to talk about the fact that some humans are untouchables right now in society. In India, at one point, up until recently, the untouchables caste, that's the lower class people, and they were seen as tainted. So they were seen as so contaminated that if anyone from a higher class walked by, the untouchables had to throw themselves on the ground so that they wouldn't risk their shadow falling on someone from a higher class, because they were considered so contaminated that even their shadow might contaminate you, might infect you. And I think we're seeing parallels of that. At least where I am, I'm in Canada. And I know in Australia, they're seeing that. And I think in the UK as well. The US is a little bit more mixed, depends on which state you're talking about. But here, a certain percentage of the population are not allowed out. They're not allowed to go to the bar, the restaurant, public buildings, government buildings. Yeah. And they're treated badly, I think, as well. And so, and I think it's creating a big divide in a lot of the religious communities as well, because some churches are saying you must be injected, and some churches are saying, well, no, Jesus tended to the lepers, and early Christians tended to the lepers, and so should we. And in our current day, the uninjected are the lepers in our society because they're seen as tainted, as soiled, as dangerously contaminated and infectious. And so it's interesting to see the churches who are going along with the mandates, because I think that goes against the teaching. So it's interesting to see the choices. And again, that's that idea of it doesn't matter what information you give people. They just believe what they want to believe. And I can't understand it, but I've finally accepted that it's true. Metal Dog says, I wish you would have done the storytelling you were thinking of doing the other year. Thank you. Adrian says, I wish you all the best. I can't get myself together, and I just spoke to him a few times. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that beautiful message. Yeah, I have to say it did take me 3 days of pretty much just crying all day to get to a point where I can talk now. So, the royalty says two-class society, independent of financial status. Yeah, things are changing. Things are getting interesting. It's interesting, though. Well, I'm going to wait and see what happens next spring, because I think over the winter we're going to see a lot of men. Well, we're seeing in athletes already. We're seeing a high rate of athletes dying of heart problems. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects the policies that people will accept next year. Hello, Auntie Meg. It's nice to see you. It's been so long, you guys. And I'm out of practice a little bit. I used to be able to talk for hours. Also, I'm a little bit tired today, I guess. And my setup, this is so last minute. Heliocentric television says all flat earthers are special. Well, that's another conversation. Meg says, thank you for putting this up. Yeah, and so I don't want to just be I actually wasn't even sure I could talk about him. I thought I'm just going to start the live stream, put a little video, and then just have other people come and talk. But it feels good. It feels good to share good memories of someone. And, things between Antonio and I were not always good. And like I said, that's okay. That's the nature of, to a certain extent, when you have two broken people and they come together, everybody's going to get cut up. There's going to be blood, right? And Antonio and I were both broken in our own special ways that made us, I think, bond very well when things were good, but made things very difficult when things were not good. But I'm able to look back and focus on the good. I think it's important to be able to do that, to say, here is a life lived, here is my interaction with that person. These are the points of intersection. And what is the good that came of it? What is the joy? What is the beauty? What is the intimacy? What love was there? You know what I mean? I think that's important to recognize and to celebrate. And all the rest, either you can figure out why the rest also existed in the midst of that, or you can just push it aside and say, well, I'm not as concerned about that now because it doesn't matter as much now. Yes. I'm going to put the invitation link in. So now the link is in chat. I'm sorry that I'm speaking really slowly and I'm a little bit one beat behind. Like I said, I'm quite tired and just out of practice of doing live streams. Metal Dog says when he was funny, he was absolutely hilarious. Well, and that's the thing. We all have different, we have different sides to our sense of humor. I quite like absurdist humor. I don't like goofy. And so there were some, and I don't like mean humor, some people, especially I think in conspiracy theory circles, because you get so much trolling. And as a reaction to that, you bite back. You have to bite back to survive to some extent, right? Because if you're seen as the weak link, everyone will come and try to destroy you, all the trolls. And so you do learn to bite back quite a bit. And some people enjoy that and find fun in that. And I don't. that's not something I enjoy, and I don't like watching it. I don't like hearing it. That's why I don't watch the debates. I used to try to watch the debates, and then I just couldn't. But that's me. Other people quite enjoy that, right? They find it amusing. But there is still enough points of common sense of humor that that we did laugh a lot together. And I tried to show that in the little video that I made, that there was a lot of laughter there. He was happy in that window of time. I think he was really being very creative and productive with his research and his content. And I don't know, I just think, I think that was a point where things were going well, and he was happy and hopeful, and you could see it. You could see it in the live streams. So that's what I wanted to share. Yeah. And maybe as well, in the same way that he brought out a really delightful side of me, I hope that I brought out a good side of him. Maybe his a little bit more the softer side, but the relaxed, kind of funny side. Not on, not worrying about the attacks. I think that's what it was. It was like those were these moments in our live streams, I think, and in our Skype conversations, where the constant attacks that we're under as conspiracy theory content creators on YouTube, that just kind of fell away. And that anxiety or that frustration or that anger at being so misunderstood, intentionally, willfully misunderstood by so many people, that just kind of faded into the background. And we were able to just enjoy each other and feel good about having someone enjoy us. And I think that's nice. It's nice to have someone who enjoys you. That's really special. Com says, I hope I can catch the rest later. Can't stay. Lots of love from France. Hello to France. France, I hope you're okay. Com, I hope you're safe. Things in France are quite crazy. I do keep an eye a little bit on what's going on there. And so I wish you strength, and I wish you well. Adrian says, this world goes down inevitably. We know that. You should spread his word. Not many people knew him like you. Yes, everyone, and that, again, I think that's the difference between the unicorns and then the people who are humans and not unicorns. I don't know. But I think that is the thing, is that some people, them in the same way that everyone else will know them, right? Because that's all there is to know. But then there's some people then there's these unicorns, and they're so magical and fascinating, and they have all these different facets. And part of it, I think, is that flexible thinking. If you can entertain conflicting ideas at the same time and say, these ideas are conflicting, so I don't know which one is true, but they both are useful to me, and they're both interesting or fascinating. And there's just not enough data yet to determine which is true. So until I have more information, I'm just going to hang on to both of them and be comfortable with that, right? Some people can do that. Some people can't. They just need certainty, right? And we see that with the trolls, the NASA fanboys, and zealots of any ideology. They don't care if what they're clinging to is not true. They just need to cling to it as though it is true, because they cannot handle uncertainty. But some people, they do quite well with that. And I think that makes them be a more multifaceted person, because when you bring out the aspects where they're like, okay, for this conversation, these ideas are relevant, and so I can draw on those ideas. And then for this other conversation, okay, now I've drawn these other set of ideas and these other set of beliefs, if you will. And so it gives them more sides, and it gives them more to access, and there's more mystery there, and there's more to unveil. And then as well, those are the kinds of people where you can bring out different sides of them, and be surprised and delighted by what shows up, right? And I think that was Antonio, and I see that in myself, and I think that's why I resonated really well with him. It's because we were both like that, right? We just and that was fun too, because sometimes we would have Skype calls and we were so serious, and you see it in our live streams, right? Where sometimes we were so playful together and playing with the ideas and kind of laughing. And then sometimes we'd get very serious. It was fun. And that's why sometimes there were debates. And we're both so stubborn. He's stubborn, I'm stubborn. But at least there was enough self-awareness there so that, we would start having conflict because we were both being stubborn about something. And then we both realize it and we're like, okay. Yeah, and that worked out. And so then we'd still be able to laugh at the end of the conversation and laugh at our stubbornness. That was nice. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to remove some of these. Can I? I cannot. I'm going to remove that comment in a moment. But yeah. And I'm not wanting to paint a false picture. I'm not saying, I don't like when someone dies and then suddenly they're a saint. I don't like that. I think it's not true, and I think it's not good to do that. I'm not saying that he was perfect. I'm not saying he wasn't flawed. I'm not saying he didn't have moments where he wasn't crazy. I think extreme fasting that he did, had significant effects on his personality as well, and his mental state. And so I'm not saying by any means that he was perfect. What I am saying, though, is throughout my relationship with him, there were ups and downs. There were times where we were mortal enemies, and there were times where we weren't. And I'm choosing to focus and to highlight the good parts about his personality and the delightful parts about my friendship with him, my relationship with him, because right now, that's the only thing I think that's relevant now. At this point, it's not relevant to me to think about the flaws and we're all flawed, and we all have moments where we behave not as well as we would like to. And I think I would like to be forgiven for my flaws. I would like my flaws to be overlooked sometimes, especially if you're summing up my life. If you're summing up my life, then don't focus on the crazy. Don't focus on the flaws. Don't focus on the terrible mistakes, on the sins, on the wrongs done, because that's what we focus on when we're alive. That's what we fight about. That's what we hold grudges about. That's what, that's what we use to say, oh, you're not in my social circle anymore, or oh, you're in that person's social circle now, right? We spend our whole lives focusing on those flaws. And so when it's done, then I think we don't need to do that anymore. Now we can focus. And I'm not saying we should focus on our flaws while we're here, but we do. And it kind of makes sense, I think, in terms of, here's dating advice from my my psychology degree. People typically choose partners based on the traits that they like about that person. And that leads to a lot of relationship dissatisfaction, divorce, breakups, because everyone has good traits. Everyone can have moments of niceness, if not kindness. And everyone nearly will have moments where they might make you laugh. And so if you're choosing your partner because, oh, he or she is so funny, he or she is so nice, they're so fun to be around. Those things, I'm just going to switch my music. Those things, you can find good things about anyone, but what's going to make or break the relationship is, what are their flaws, and can you accept their flaws? Can you deal with their flaws? Because if you can't deal with their flaws, then that relationship won't work. And that's what people learn too late. And then they're big conflict, divorce, messy divorce, or terrible breakups, right? And that's hard to remember, I think, because especially when you get infatuated with someone new. But it's the flaws that should be determining whether or not you decide to date someone or not, right? Because if you just decide on their good points, everyone has good points. Yeah. Where was I going with that? Where did I start? Yes. Oh, yes. And so it is important to recognize flaws as we go through life with the people that cross our paths. It's also important to focus on the good things. One thing that I thought was, hold on, I don't like the trolls in the chat. There we go. I think it's that person that's a troll. And let me just put this person in timeout as well. Hello, Persian Scribe. Traveling to visit family. Oh, happy Thanksgiving to the Americans. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I hope you're feeling grateful for all the good things, because there are a lot of good things to be grateful for, even in the midst of everything else that may be hard or challenging, struggles. There's a lot to be grateful for. So I hope you're focusing on that and feeling good and feeling happy and joyful. Missing the you he brought out hit me in the feels. I can't see. I don't want to get too emotional. So thank you for your beautiful comment, Persian Scribe. Metal Dog says the moon landing videos he made were funny. I'll always remember him for the Trailer Park Boys music. So yes, flaws and good things. Yeah, that's something that I didn't like. I didn't like the channels that had mistreated him or treated him as a pariah. They pushed him out and they treated him as a pariah. And then he dies, and then they have videos about, oh, here's this thing in memoriam. Yeah. And I mean, everyone copes with things differently. So I'm not saying they were bad or wrong. I'm saying, in my opinion, I didn't like to see that, because I thought, don't wait until I die to make a video saying, oh, maybe there are some things that Orphan Red was okay about or for or with. Maybe it wasn't all terrible. And even though we cast her out of our community, now that she's dead, now we'll say, well, maybe it wasn't all horrible. Don't wait till I'm dead. That's stupid. If there are things that you appreciate about me, let me know now. If there are things that you value in me, let me know now. Why wait? That just seems ridiculous to me. And then it also seems insincere to then, after the person dies, then you post something like, oh, blah, 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 this person. Well, I don't know what that means. If you talk badly about them, or if you actively worked against them, or if you were, if you're someone that cast them out, yeah, I don't really understand what that means to then when they're dead, then you're like, oh, here's a video showing that I acknowledge that you existed and contributed in some small fashion. Let me know now while I'm alive, please. Don't wait until I'm dead. I would rather that, because when I'm dead, I won't, then you're not doing it for me, then you're doing it for you. And then it's not a gift. So make it a gift. Let me know how much you appreciate me while I'm here. I may not be here for long. We never know what's happening. Life is so unpredictable. Oh, horse milk, you're so sweet. I did put a link in the chat for people who wanted to join, but I'm only going to approve people that I know. Yeah. But yeah, please do come on in and share a nice little story. You don't have to say a lot. You don't have to, you can just say what you want to say, a little piece. I just think a lot of people don't have channels. They have it. Well, they have a YouTube channel so that they can log in, but they're not content creators. That's what I should say. But they still might want to share something and say something and contribute their story, their view, their interactions with Antonio. Yeah, because I think it did come as such a shock to the community. So I think one way of maybe coping better with this, and that's the thing, I think coping with it by, watching people's videos, I didn't find what I was looking for in those videos, I guess. That's why I made my own, because, yeah, and that's why I'm here tonight talking about him. I am half Irish, and in Irish culture, when someone passes away, you have a wake and you get quite drunk and you sing songs later in the night when everyone's so drunk it doesn't matter if you're out of tune, and you tell stories. You tell stories about the person that's passed. You tell moments that were good. You remember them. And that's nice. And I think it's not just remembering the videos that he made, because I think he was more than that. And so that's why I'm talking about about our friendship, our special friendship, I guess. And also, I think as well, maybe to remember how important it is to value the people who are special in your life and to make an extra effort to let them know that you value them, yes, but also to interact with them more. Instead of watching Netflix tomorrow night, maybe hop on Skype and Skype someone, a friend that you haven't talked to for a while, right? Because you're probably just going to end up watching something you've already seen on Netflix, because it's 2 years into the pandemic. We've all seen everything already, like except for the next episode of Dexter. But like, other than that, I think we've all seen everything that's available on streaming right now. And I've noticed that content creation on YouTube is also decreasing. I think people are just producing less original content. Some people are still making the same number of videos a week, but there's less unique content in it. So you can see that people's productivity is going down a little bit. So instead of doing that, just call someone, call a friend. Auntie Mike says, I'm still in shock, heartbroken for his daughters. I lost my parents while young. I'm sorry to hear that, Auntie Meg. Yes, I do feel for his family. I don't feel comfortable talking about that because I feel I want to respect their privacy and their grieving and their mourning, and I don't want to. I feel like I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for our community, but I don't want to impinge on his family, if that makes sense, because I think because Antonio didn't bring his family into his channel. He didn't bring his family into the community. He had that separation, and I respect that, I guess. And so that's why I would like to do the same. I'm just looking at chat. Lots going on in chat. Thank you, Javier, for that nice comment. You can tell I'm out of practice. I used to be a lot quicker on this. You can also tell I'm quite exhausted, emotionally exhausted. But I'm happy today. I'm happy to remember him, and I'm happy to talk about him. And that's why I'm inviting you guys on to come talk, because it feels good. It feels good to talk about someone and to talk about the really delightful moments you had with them. I only took clips from 3 of our live streams. There was a 4th one that was probably the best one, but it was I just couldn't. It was too heartbreaking. And so I had to stop. So I had already gone through 3 of them. And it was a mistake. I saved the best for last, but I should have gone through the best one first. But I saved it for last, and then I couldn't. I just couldn't anymore. So that's why the clips that I chose, those are the ones that I chose from 3 of the live streams that we did together, because that's all I can manage. David Liz just switched over from Jed's remembrance of Antonio. Oh no, is Jed oh no. I thought that Jed was doing it this weekend. He's doing it right now. Oh my goodness. And I was wondering if Jed would join us in chat. But he's doing his own live stream. So I'm just going to say, hi, Jed. I'm doing my own live stream because I didn't know you were going live tonight. Oops. I feel bad now because I don't want I don't like competing for an audience. But so anyway, I hope they're saying nice things over there as well. Pygmalion doesn't know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Antonio Subirats. That's one thing that Jed mentioned to me, that he found it was weird that Rob Skiba and Antonio passed away in the same week. And apparently they were talking about doing a project together. And conspiratorially, we have to wonder, did someone not like that idea? And I don't know if I want to get into this, but because there are things having to do with catastrophism in Antonio's work, in his model, that are relevant to what's going on now. The collapse of the Earth's magnetic field, I should say. The consequences of that on our sun and on our north and south poles and their drift, and how all of this kind of ties together. The meltology is relevant. The evidence of massive lightning strikes in different eras. The plasma apocalypse, I think Jay Dreamers calls it. A lot of that, I think, is coming. And I think Antonio's model explains why it's coming and how it's coming. And I think maybe that is threatening to the powers that be, that are trying to keep us all calm and collected while they're building bunkers. Massive numbers of bunkers being built in New Zealand and Colorado. And so I think that's intriguing, that they're telling us everything's fine, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about the fact that the Earth's magnetic field is failing. Don't worry about the fact that the North and South Pole are rushing towards each other at breakneck speed. Yeah. Just everything. We'll just keep taking your stimulus checks and don't think about what's coming next. Meanwhile, they're building bunkers in New Zealand and stocking up. So I think that's interesting. And those are things that come out of his model quite clearly and make a lot of sense. So let me share this beside me here, or maybe I'll put it like this. Ray says, Earth's magnetic field does nothing to the sun. I'm going to address that idiocy right now. Ray, that's silly to say, because the Earth's magnetic field is caused by the fact that the sun is a diamagnetic body, and so is the Earth. And when you bring them together, you get a plasma in between that emerges. And that's what we call our ionosphere. And the Earth's magnetic field is a direct consequence of the sun. Take away the sun, and the Earth's magnetic field just is no longer activated. I know that you think that you know because you read something about the Earth's iron core spinning and the convection currents, but when you heat metal, it loses its magnetic field. So sorry, I'm just blocking users. Just give me a moment. I don't know if the context of that comment, so I'm just putting it in timeout rather than blocking the user. Yes, okay. And so what was I going to show? I was going to show this. Can I play that? There we go. So this is the idea that there are different suns on a vast plane, and each sun governs a certain area and melts that puddle in that vast plane. The Earth would be one of these puddles, but in the past, it was a smaller puddle. There was more, and so there would be suns, there would be these electromagnetic bodies that we call the sun. So they're distributed along this vast plane, and on a cyclical basis, because if you think of things that are orbiting irregularly, when their orbits intersect, that'll change both orbital paths, right? And so then eventually they start coming into sync. And then what happens is something along these lines where you see the two suns and they're coming into sync, and then they interact. And I think it's this one where you can see. Yeah. So these are the different suns melting their different worlds, 3 different worlds. And then eventually they come into one. And now that's the new pond. Because in the beginning of this video, like right here at the beginning, you would have an Antarctica around each of these 3 suns. So you'd have a little puddle beneath each of these 3 suns. And further outwards, you'd have little Antarcticas around those 3. So those would be 3 little Earths, 3 little puddles. And then as time passes and the suns end up coming together, you end up with a bigger puddle. And it's really easy to look at this and just dismiss it as, okay, well, that's just kind of speculation, conjecture. There's not enough data to really make that conclusion. But in fact, there actually is. And Antonio spent hours, we both did, because I was researching it as much as he was, and we were sharing all this stuff. And there's so much data from ancient cultures and ancient myths, and even just archaeological mysteries. There's so much data there that supports these ideas, and especially cultures like China, where they have kept their history more intact. And they talk about the warring suns, and the one sun gobbling up all these little. They say sons of suns, but let's say daughter suns, because that's just verbally, that's easier to manage. So they talk about the daughter suns that appear, and then the daughter suns that are all warring to be the main central sun. And then the one central sun ends up conquering all the daughter suns, and then he becomes the ruling sun. And so that's interesting in light of Antonio's theory. It wasn't just like, I remember a few years ago, some people decided that, what was it? The sky was made of, I can't remember what kind of crystal, selenite, amethyst. No, it was a bluestone, a sapphire. People decided in the flat earth community, not all, some people decided in the flat earth community that the dome was made of sapphire. They had nothing to base that on other than it's blue and our sky is blue. Like, that was it. That's all they had. And I was so upset with that. And I argued about the silliness in promoting that just senseless, just no foundation, speculation, imagination, nonsense. But Antonio's model, and this is why I had him on my show, and this is why we presented it together on my channel the way we did, it actually does have a tremendous amount of supporting evidence. And it ties into a lot of information that it's hard to make sense of in the standard model. And that was the strength of it. And those are some of the things that I would like to, this coming winter maybe, tie together in a more coherent picture. Because that was the one thing. There was so much information. And we were so excited because it was all new and we were still figuring it out. And so we presented it just the way we had it. And then on his channel, he as well, he had so much information that he was trying to kind of get across. And I think, and because of the way, I think he thought very much the way I do, it's hard to filter it out into these simplistic little blurbs that you can then put on YouTube that will make sense. And so that translation process, you lose so much in translating it from what you're holding in your mind to what you're able to put on YouTube. And so, but I would like to, now that I have time and distance, and I can kind of present it more coherently. And I wish that he had had the time and the health to do that, but he didn't. And so that's something that I would like to do, just to honor his work. And because I was a participant in his work. I was a participant in his research. I helped him edit part of his first book. I worked on the map. We worked on the map together. So I feel a certain a vested interest, I think, in seeing the coherent story of that model come out. Because I think I saw that as like, I knew it would take him time to get it in a way that people could make sense of. And I thought, it'll take a few years, a few more books, a few years for him to be able to have it in his mind in a way that he can communicate it coherently. Time ran out. And so that's something that I want to do for him. Yeah. I'm just looking at chat to see if I have to block or time people out. Let me know in chat if I do. Hello, Nashlus. It's nice to be doing a live stream again. It's strange, it's odd, and especially because I'm in such a strange place today. It feels weird. I'm out of practice, yes, but also it's a weird live stream to be doing. Danny Diesel says, from now on, when we, Antonio subs, run into trolls, we should carry on Antonio's tradition of calling them a clown shoe, considered a badge of honor. We will all miss him. There you go. Very nice. Thank you, Danny, for adding that. People are shy to come on. I understand. Maybe people are emotional, but you can come on if you want to have just to say your little piece. That would be nice. Because I'm winding down. I'm going to end this soon. It's 7:13, so we've been on for an hour. I was only going to do an hour show live stream. So if you have any questions, put them in chat right now before I log off. Auntie Meg, have you seen the Vibes of the Cosmos where the moon is a map of our pond? Yes, I have, and I think that's quite fascinating. This theory that the moon is reflecting. There's a relationship with plasma there, but we don't want to get into the little scientific details of how that might work. But the main idea is that the Earth is reflected on the moon's surface, as it was in the past, perhaps, or distorted through the plasma. It's quite interesting. It's a brilliant theory. I love it. I don't know if it's true or not, there's something to it, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely something to it. There's some truth. I don't think that the mechanics of it all are all worked out. I think there's a lot more research to be done to figure out the details of how it works, and are we seeing the past, or are we seeing a distorted image through the plasma, like things like that, details like that, I think have to be worked out. But it's such a fun conspiracy theory because it's mind-blowing, and because you can see that, yeah, there's truth to that. Yes, there is this pattern on the moon that is definitely reflecting the pattern of the continents on Earth. And how do you make sense of that? I like that. I like conspiracy theories that make you, well, give you a sense of wonder for the mysteries and the delightful mysteries in the world, in the reality around us, and that bring up more questions. I don't like conspiracy theories that say, this is what happened, this is who shot the person, and case closed. I like conspiracy theories that still allow space for exploration, and allow you to participate and allow you to add in your discoveries, right? Because it's not all sealed and set. It's not an ideology yet. I guess that's what it is. I don't like when these things become closed ideologies, and then the people who believe that are just zealots and they don't allow any questioning of the new model that they've come up with. And that's what I liked with Antonio's model. He always acknowledged, like, this is a work in progress. I'm still figuring things out. Feel free to contribute. And that's good, because then people can contribute, and then you get better ideas, because it doesn't matter how bright you are. There are sparks of brilliance in most people. And you never know who's going to just have this spark of brilliance, and be able to contribute something of immense value to your ideas, to your thoughts, to your theories, to your models. And so you have to leave room for that, I think. Sapphire Sword, thank you so much. Please find a way to become more active here. I'm working on it. I have a new, I can't say much about it, but I do have a new project that I'll know in a month whether or not things are going to get better or not for me. So ask me again in a month. T-Mank says, did you and Antonio ever talk about the energy equals radiation over time? Yes. And if so, could you talk about it sometime? That's exactly what I want to talk about. That's one of the main things. I've been waiting so patiently for Antonio to talk about it so that I could talk about it. And he was still kind of working at the details of it, and he wanted to keep it for his second book. And so I'm waiting until the family decides on whether or not they're going to publish his second book. If they publish it, then I'm going to wait until it's published, and people can buy copies of it. And then I'll talk about energy equals radiation over time. But I'm dying to talk about it. I've been dying to talk about it for a year because it has so many interesting implications, and I actually think it explains some of the weirdness that's going on in the world today. And it's just so fun because it's different and it's new, but it makes sense. And once you think about it, you're like, yes, that's quite obvious. And I think those are the best theories, are the theories that nobody thinks of, because you have to be such a strange thinker to think of it. You have to be able to see things that people don't see. And then once that's seen, then it's so obvious. Like, how could it not be that way? Of course it's that way, right? And that in particular, yes, energy is radiation over time. I've been waiting to talk about that. So yes, I definitely will make a video about that. Yes, because that's an exciting topic. Danny Diesel says the channel Music Realm did a tribute video. Yeah, I did see. So there have been half a dozen videos that have come out in the last couple days, or this past week. So I've been watching those. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm about to go. I'm wondering why my doorbell didn't ring. So we'll see what's happening with that. Okay. Wow. Normally, remember when I used to do 4 or 5-hour live streams? I've done an hour and I'm already feeling it. So I'm going to have to say goodnight. I'm going to change the music for my goodnight and put something a little bit nicer on. But yes, okay, summing up. I've said a lot of the same things in different ways. I tend to repeat myself. I know that. And thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. It makes a difference. Rest in peace, Rob and Antonio. Good night, all. Yes, Rob Skiba as well. I haven't talked about him, but that's another great loss to the community as well. And that's something I'll address maybe in a future video. But yes, to sum up, I do repeat myself a lot. It's because like I said earlier in my video, I think I talk half for you, the person I'm talking to, and half for me when I talk. Because a lot of the time when I'm thinking, I'm thinking of different things, and it helps to say it out loud because it crystallizes things, and it helps me to hear it, because then it kind of cements it and records it, right? And so I'll often, if I say something and I'm like, I want to remember that crystallized form of that thought, right? Because it's come out very clearly and coherently as a concept that I can work with, rather than being a bit notional. Then I'll say it twice. I'll repeat it so that I can hear it a second time. So please forgive me for that. But yes, okay, summing up. Please don't wait until I'm dead to show that you do appreciate some small thing that I offer the world. Enough about me, but for Antonio, it's hard to talk about him and not get emotional. But yes, he was a very bright light in our very dark world. He was unique. He was brilliant. He was creative. And we hope you miss.